Start by rolling out slabs on a piece of canvas or other cloth when the clay is still soft. To flatten the clay slightly, you can use a rolling pin or your hands. Remember to flatten the clay down incrementally. Don't hit the clay too hard, as you don't want it to be thinner than your height guides. Position the rolling pin so it sits on top of the two sticks with the clay in the middle. Roll your slabs about 1 centimetre thick. Your guide stick should help you with getting the right thickness. Thicker slabs are more sturdy and easier to work with. Using 2 hands, roll the rolling pin from the tops of your fingers to the bottom of your thumb. If your clay slab has an even thickness, your rolling pins will be touching the sticks on both sides as you are rolling. Roll in multiple directions to make sure the clay is an even thickness across the entire slab. To avoid leaving marks in your slab when using a rubber kidney, slowly place it on the clay, and as you pull it off, do it quickly. As you are smoothing the surface of your clay to remove the canvas texture, you are also compressing the clay. Compressing means pressing or squeezing together. Any cracks in the clay are being smoothed over by pressing the clay together to remove the gaps. Place your template on your clay slab. I placed it near to the edge of my clay slab as it is a better use of space considering other shapes will be cut out from the same piece. Be careful when using a potter's knife. Do not cut towards your fingers. To join pieces of clay together, we will use a process called slipping, scoring, and marrying. Using a potter's needle or any sharp clay tool, score a line that shows where you will need to score the clay. Only score the areas that will have slip applied to them. On this piece of clay, I used the potter's needle to score crosshatches. The more marks, the better. Cross hatch along the edges and the sides of your template slabs. Using a paintbrush, apply slurry to the scored areas. Slurry is a thick liquid consisting of clay mixed with water. Slurry is often referred to as joining slip. The wetter the better. The more water between the clay particles, the more they can slide around and intermingle when clay pieces are next to each other. When joining clay parts together, they should be equally wet. As clay dries, it shrinks. Physical water between the clay particles evaporates and the clay particles draw nearer to each other. If a wet piece is joined to a drier piece, the wet piece has more shrinking left to do than the other drier piece, and so, as it does, shrinks more. It creates a stress and will want to crack away from the drier piece. The key is to make sure you fill in all of the grooves so you create no air pockets. Some potters reverse this process, putting water on first, then scoring through it, thereby cutting into the slip as they do. After the slurry has been applied, press the pieces into place. To reinforce the joins and for neatness, roll out coils and place them over the edges where the slabs meet. To make the top or bottom, place the box upside down on top of the other slab and use a knife to mark out the edges. The top or bottom side will be slightly larger than its opposite side, and it will be sitting on top of the walls and not slotted in between them. To make a straw, I simply created a small coil out of the same clay. If you spray your board with a small amount of water, it helps to keep your coil soft and moist. As you move your hands further apart from each other as you are rolling, the coil will become longer. This is because you are physically stretching the clay. To fix an uneven section, move your hands closer together and focus your rolling on that section. You can either paint freehand or draw your design onto your carton in pencil first. To make sure my carton was an accurate representation of its real-life counterpart, I drew the designs on with pencil first. You do not need to include every detail. An underglaze is a coloured decoration applied to the surface of a clay piece before it is glazed. Underglazes are usually brought pre-made. You need to make sure an underglaze is thoroughly mixed before you use it. You do this by stirring and not just by shaking it. Multiple thin coats of underglaze are better than thicker coats. Be aware, underglazes can create glazing problems. It does this by stopping a piece from developing layers of clear glaze. Underglazes can also dissolve in the glaze. Underglazes can be difficult to handle because they are quite thick.